Today, as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
Council Leary.
Here.
Council Mercia.
Here.
Council Milanazzo.
Here.
Council Rourke.
Here.
Council Samaras.
Here.
Council Belanger.
Here.
Council Elliott.
Here.
9 present.
Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Ruth Casivalon, beloved wife of Theodore Casivalon, with whom she shared many loving years of marriage until his passing in 2012. I bring Ruth's name forward because I want to publicly recognize and thank her for all her many years as a leader and activist in the Back Central Neighborhood Association, who worked very hard to make her section of the city a better place to live, and she did. Ruth will always be remembered by all those that knew her for her many kind and generous nature. She was an active member of the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church in Lowell, as well as a board member of the Mental Health Association of Lowell. Ruth is survived by her sons Joel, Glenn, CJ, and Arthur, and her daughter Roseanne. She will be deeply missed by her 10 grandchildren and her 9 great-grandchildren, Ruth's twin brother Roger, and her 2 sisters. She will be truly missed. She left her mark on the city of Lowell through all the people who knew her. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
All right, we have the minutes of the Neighborhood Subcommittee of May 2nd, of the Economic Development Subcommittee of May 3rd, and the City Council meeting of May 3rd for acceptance. Chair would entertain a motion to accept and place on file.
So moved.
We have a motion to that effect by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Samaras. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have a communication from the City Auditor regarding the FY16 budget report year to date. Chair would entertain a motion to accept and place on file. We have a motion by Councilor Milanazzo, second by Councilor Rourke to do that. Any discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to make a motion to refer that to the Finance Subcommittee. We're planning on meeting next week. So I'd like to put that in the form of a motion that we send that to the Finance Subcommittee.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Leary to take the communication from the City Auditor and send it to the Finance Subcommittee. Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? So voted. Next.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just through you to the clerk. Mr. Clerk, could you ensure that that is also included as part of the agenda item?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have communications from the City Manager. We have items A through H. First item, Huntoon Avenue. Any discussion? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did read this, and I'm very pleased with it, but I want to, from this, file a motion to find ways and means to make Huntoon Avenue an accepted street so that the Chapter 90 funds can ultimately be used to repave the street. If I could do that from reading this report, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we can't get this money from the budget, and it's not an accepted street, so we can't use the Chapter 90 funding. So if I could make that motion, please.
Okay, Council Mercy, you want to make a motion to refer to the city manager that, in order that he move forward and take necessary steps to make it an accepted street?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Second on the motion,
Second.
second by Council Elliott. Discussion, all in favor? All opposed, so voted. Next item is 47 10th Street. Any discussion? Moving on, the municipal water for the public. Any discussion? Next is a Cambodian business community sculpture.
Can we back up
Sure.
1 minute, please? Municipal water, I just realized that I could segue this into the municipal water. Is that okay?
Sure.
This past Saturday, the city council, as well as the public, had the opportunity to visit the open house sponsored by the Lowell Regional Water Utility Facility on the Pawtucket Boulevard. Is this relevant to that, or do you want me to wait till the end?
Keep on going. You started, so you may as well
Okay.
go ahead with it.
So we visited the water utility facility on the Pawtucket Boulevard in conjunction with it being National Drinking Water Week. It was an effort to learn more about our water system, by which tours were available, and I, along with my daughter, took part in. When we wake up in the morning and we jump into the shower and we have clean, sanitized water and it comes through the pipes, or when we're asleep on a freezing winter night and the pipes burst, we really realize that many people are responsible for either fixing the problem or producing a clean, fresh product. I was most grateful for the tour by the city employees, which included Michael Gannon, John Marshall, Bob Moriarty, and many, many more city employees under the leadership of their director, Eric Gitchia. I witnessed firsthand how the money that we appropriate and the taxpayers pay, I witnessed how their money is spent to improve and upgrade not only the building, machinery, or the equipment, but the water itself. I was very proud of all the dedicated work that goes on there with the city employees who make a difference in our lives every day behind the scenes. And as the slogan says, our pride flows, and yes, it does. This city is in good shape, and I hope the public took advantage to see how their tax dollars are being spent. And I want to publicly say thank you for a job well done. Thank you for letting me segue this into that, because unless you go there firsthand and see the equipment that was bought, the improvements that have been made, the safety in our water system, unlike what we read in other states, we're in very good shape, and I'm very grateful for the men and women that work there to improve our lives every day. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Just as a point of information, Mr. Manager, am I correct to infer that we will be looking to put water stations or something like that in or around the parking garages in the downtown area?
Yes, what we're looking at is to have water bottle fillers in the parking garages. There are some cons to that proposal. And as a matter of fact, I just participated in a seminar on continuing care, and I asked Linda King to look into the possibility of maybe providing water at the satellite police stations across the city, if they had the opportunity to do that. So we are looking at opportunities that are in the best interest of the city. The garages, they don't think it may be the best place in the world, but maybe the satellite police stations would be a good spot to put water. But we're definitely going to provide water, and we'll update you on where we're going to provide the water, especially in the hot summer months.
Thank you. Councilor Leary.
Just one, I want to publicly thank you for doing that. I think that's a positive. I think the motion was a good one. I think your follow-up was timely, and I think it's appropriate. Just a segue, we also went on the tour. I think I saw Councilor Belanger there as well. It's impressive. It's impressive how much of an investment that the city has put in over decades, and how it functions, and how the engineering feat of just using the Merrimack River, and how effective and how safe that it actually is. And the best part of it is, my kid got to use with the backhoe, moving it around. So it was a very impressive tour. The folks did a good job, and it was a lot of fun. And I want to just thank the Water Department employees and Eric Etchier and his staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to make one comment on, I think I was reading something here, so maybe the manager said it. If we do the satellite water stations at the police stations, it might be a good idea because that way they can always check in, see if they're doing okay. We can, not really to keep tabs on people, but just to have a conversation with them and ask them if they're doing okay. Is there anything we can help them out with, city services? So we should have a further discussion. That might be a better idea than the parking garages, you know? It might be more private because they can just go in there and get water, but if they're checking in at the police stations throughout the city, we can take care of, we can help out, you know, when needed. So that might be something to consider. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Moving on to item D, the Cambodian Business Community Sculpture. Any discussion on item D? If not, moving on to item E, the ad hoc committee panhandling. On panhandling? Any discussion? Council Mercia.
Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, do you have enough people on that committee?
Mr. Manager.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. Yes, I've developed a list of about 20 individuals that I think would be appropriate. Suggestions, not only city employees, but maybe a representative of Living Waters, representative of the Transitional Center, St. Anne's Church. So we're going to be sending out an invitation to all of them to see if they'll join us. But I anticipate more than 10 on the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, the next three are informational items provided by the city manager. The first is the complete streets progress.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have anything informational in my packet, so I'm wondering if we could have, I see all the DPD staff is here. I wonder if someone might be able to come up to the podium and give us a briefing to see where we're at on this very, very important initiative we have in the city. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager, do we have someone that can speak for?
Sure. Kevin Coughlin, would you come up and just give us an update on the Complete Streets program?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Kevin Coughlin. I'm the Deputy Director for the DPD, and also here of DPD staff, Nicholas Bossanetto, who's worked diligently on this project. Originally, the city made application and worked to construct a policy under the Commonwealth guidelines and Mass DOT guidelines for a policy on this entity called Complete Streets, which is doing your planning by way of including all types of transportation, including pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles on the roadway. This council voted a Complete Streets policy. Shortly thereafter, when we were applying to Mass DOT to get in line for funding, the suggestion came back from Mass DOT to amend some of the wording. The council then, in its followed its recommendation and amended the wording for that to allow us to proceed to the next tier, which is called Tier 2, in order to be able to apply for funding. Upon application for Tier 2, the policy was evaluated and the other planning methods were evaluated for the city, and we received a score of 91 out of 100 in order to move forward to the next step. The next step is that there would be a prioritization of the major transportation projects within the city, and those would be submitted down to Mass DOT, which we expect to be during this midsummer, at which time, when those projects are submitted to Mass DOT, we will compete, and we are really very high in the standing ahead of other communities in the Commonwealth to be able to compete for a pool, which we hope our portion here would be up to $400,000 for major projects for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Coughlin. Well done.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, moving on to item G, the Health and Human Services Organization. Any discussion on item G? Moving on to item H, we have the FY17 capital plan. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to the council members, is that this is the first time in probably the longest time that the capital plan will be presented at the same time as the operating budget. And the reason we do that is obviously there's, as Connor Baldwin put in his letter, there's a symbiotic relationship between the two budgets. In order to fund a capital plan, you have to make sure that you have the resources from the operating budget. So when we roll out our budget in May and the beginning of June, we'll also be asking you to consider the capital plan. And what we do, I'd like to just give you a brief explanation now of what some of our concepts are for the capital plan. And before we give the final presentation, we certainly would appreciate some comments from you relative to the capital plan. First of all, we're going to be spending $11.1 million in fiscal year 17 on our capital plan. And the interesting thing is, once again, this fiscal year, is we're going to be able to leverage state and federal funds so that the actual impact to the tax dollars for the residents of Lowell is only $6 million. So it is a great opportunity to leverage those state and federal dollars to save the residents of Lowell money in the tax bill. Our first priority is obviously infrastructure improvements. You know, these pedestrian issues are as important as anything to the residents of Lowell. So we're going to spend $3.2 million in paving, sidewalks, and curbing. We'll have a complete list by the time this budget comes out of what streets we plan to pave and improve the sidewalks when that happens. The Hamilton Canal parking, we're going to spend $1.3 million. $1 million will be to design a new 900-space parking garage at the Hamilton Canal, and the other $300,000 will be used to pave and prepare a temporary surface parking lot, because when Genesis begins their construction in the Hamilton Canal, it's going to take away that surface parking lot that now services 110 Canal Place. So we're going to have to provide more surface parking lot. Again, we're going to do Andover Street improvements. When I say this is that right now we use asphalt on Andover Street. It's unsightly and it doesn't make for a very smooth surface. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a concrete patching system to improve Andover Street so it's a smoother ride and it's a more aesthetically pleasing street in the city. Lucy Larkham Parkway has become a priority of ours, and if you've ever gone down that concrete walkway in the middle of Lucy Larkham Parkway, it's treacherous to walk. We learned that in the Winterfest. So we're going to completely excavate that walkway, and we're going to replace it with a new walkway that is going to be able to hold up to cars and trucks making deliveries to Lucy Larkham, and it'll make for a better aesthetic area for future festivals. On JFK Plaza, we're going to picture the two islands that are at the beginning of JFK Plaza as you come to the front steps of City Hall. What we're going to do is we're going to add another island, and this is going to be a place to put monuments to the minority residents of the city of Lowell, because we've run out of space to put monuments, so we'll create this third island in order to put monuments there. Our next priority is going to be public safety initiatives. At the Lowell Police Department, priorities right now, we can't fix the whole thing, but we need to make the doors more secure, so there's going to be a swipe card access to the doors at the police station, and we're also going to upgrade the locker room. We're going to make improvements to our fire stations, because there's some drainage issues in 3 of our fire stations that we're going to repair as part of this public safety initiative. The third priority is economic development. I've met with the chairman of the Lowell Memorial Auditorium Board of Trustees, and I've met with Keith Vasky of Spectra, and the number one priority is repair of the restrooms. And what we're going to do is we're going to tackle this issue. We're going to renovate and repair the restrooms at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. We're going to leverage a park grant with the state and our own money to make the South Common improvements. We've already presented that to you. Councilor Samaras, you had that proposal, and we're going to have that walkway from the Gallagher Terminal all the way over towards the Gorham Street side of the South Common. In the library, we're going to replace carpeting. The carpeting, it's a beautiful building, and we need to replace the carpeting, and that's what we're going to do with that money. And finally, going to buy some equipment. We need a snow removal and salt truck for DPW. We need a bucket truck. And Councilor Mercy will be glad to see that we're going to have that mulch blower in the capital plan this year. So I think this is a very, very cautious endeavor, but it certainly includes, I think, most of the important capital items that the councilors have requested over the past year. So we'll be making a full presentation and as part of the operating budget, and we just ask you for any comments or suggestions that you might have pending the final submittal. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion on item H? Council Milonazo.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager. Have we already appropriated our funds needed to support the Tiger grant that we received? We did. Okay.
Yes, we have.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Council Leahy, then Council Belanger.
Thank you. That was part of my question too. So the Tiger, the bridges will get going on that. Okay. All right. I just want to thank you and Connor for this. Looks very thorough and you gave it a lot of thought. So I didn't have time to go through the whole thing the way I wanted to, but just overviewing it, I mean, you really put a lot of thought into it and took a lot of suggestions from the departments and the council, and so it looks good. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, would like to extend my compliments to the administration. It's very thoughtful. It's a very citywide approach, or even it's from the center of downtown to the outskirts of the city being improved, and that's great. But I do have a few questions, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. On the MBTA land swap, we all know that was crucial to making the garage at the Hamilton Canal a reality. And I commend all those involved in making that come into fruition. Now, we're looking at almost $500,000 there, Mr. Manager. Could you just clarify? Now, that allowed us for the land that we needed to build the garage, but we had to purchase the land so they could park the buses. Is that correct?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, through you. Exactly. Instead of having 11 buses parked in the garage and taking up approximately 100 spaces, it makes more sense to park them in a separate lot. And this money will allow us to acquire and to improve that lot so it can park the 11 buses. And that'll generate much more revenue for us in the parking garage rather than using up 100 spaces. But no, that's an excellent question.
Okay, that's great. No, that was well done. That was very, very important. Now, the MassWorks money. Now, I see we have $300,000 for the surface lot at the Hamilton Canal. Now, I thought that was coming out of MassWorks grant money. No.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. No, the MassWorks grant is going to bring infrastructure into the Hamilton Canal. That's going to bring in the water, the electricity, and everything else. Right. This is another parcel in the Hamilton Canal that we're going to pave and make use as a temporary parking surface until we have the permanent garage constructed. So we have to pay for that with our own money.
Okay, great. And again, alluding to the parking garage at the Hamilton Canal, so we're set to, according to the motion I made, motion response that you gave me back in March, regarding the timetable of the construction of the Hamilton Canal. So we appear to be right on track. That design is going to be out to bid in late spring. So it seems like, Mr. Manager, we're right on track, because that is set to be complete in 2018. And that is a commitment we have made to those businesses who have made commitments on this parcel, and it's very important that we follow through with that commitment. So everything appears to be right on track there, and that's great. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Elliott? We're all set. Councilor Brock?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the manager. Mr. Manager, at this time in the process where the city is at with the new proposed Lowell High School, is there any capital plan funds needed over the next calendar year for the high school?
Mr. Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Counselor, that's an excellent point. The consideration for financing the high school must be taken into account as we bring forward a 5-year plan. We've already secured the loan order for the design, the feasibility study. We've incorporated in some assumptions into what we've proposed in the 5-year plan, so it's included in our forecasts. However, we're only authorized for the feasibility study at this point.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this, the $11,100,450, that money, people at home should know, we're not bonding $11 million because there are offsets of earmark funds from the state. There's block grant funding, there's park grant, there's Gateway Cities Park, but there is $6 million included. And is that part of a loan order or of any existing loan order? Is that coming through this year? And how much debt have we retired? Are we looking at retiring? This a 20-year loan? I know there were 2 questions in there, so
Sure.
sorry about that.
So we've modeled our forecast on assuming the $6 million bond. However, each different purpose for which the money is borrowed has a different term attached to it. So some of the hard physical infrastructure like streets, we can borrow for up to 30 years in the term, but some other pieces of equipment like departmental equipment, the maximum term is 5 to 10 years. So we've incorporated all of those in one of the slides that was in your package. There's a debt service chart, and that will all be laid out as part of the capital plan document that comes in the budget that'll be proposed in the coming weeks to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, Chair would entertain a motion to accept and file all the communications from the manager. Councilor Rourke makes that motion, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication from the city manager requesting out-of-state travel for 3 different people. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a license agreement for sidewalk seating at 1981 Raymond Bar at 129 Merrimack Street. If there's no objection, we'll, with general consent, we'll waive the full first reading, do the second reading, authorizing the city manager to execute a license agreement between the city of Lowell and the 1981 Raymond Bar for use of a portion of the city property adjacent to the premises at 129 Merrimack Street in Lowell for the purpose of sidewalk seating. We have a motion approved by Council Leary, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next item is a vote to approve the amendment to the existing TIF agreement with MACOM, a division of AMP Incorporated. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading by general consent. The second reading is to approve to amend the original tax increment financing agreement with MACOM, a division of AMP Incorporated. I think we have a registered speaker.
We do, Mr. Mayor. It's Lynn Sosoric.
So, Ms.
Okay, good evening. My name is Lynn Tokarzik, and I'm the Government Incentives Consultant representing MACOM. I'm glad to be here in the city of Lowell, and I would like to introduce Roy Drucker, who is the Director of Tax for MACOM, and Lisa Maychow, who is the Director of Government and Community Affairs. We also have on our team Wayne Goddard, who's the Director of Real Estate in the back, and Bill Manley with Calare Properties, who is the proposed new owner. We'd like to give you a presentation on a brief slide presentation, a background and history of the company, which you all know MACOM, but they want to give you an update about some of the growth plans. and what their new proposed expansion project would be in some of the economic benefits that tie along with the proposed tax arrangement. So right now, I'll turn it over to Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Good evening. As Lynn said, my name is Lisa Michaud. I do corporate relations, community affairs, and government affairs for MACOM. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, council members. I would like to thank the TIF committee first and foremost for all of their flexibility and the time and the hard work that's gone into bringing us here tonight, especially Allison LeMay, Sue Lammy, Maria Dickinson, and you, Mr. Manager, for also encouraging us to stay here in Lowell. We really do appreciate it. So we'd like to start with just a small company overview for you. I'm sure that you're familiar with MACOM, but a little bit about us is that we are a global developer and a manufacturer of integrated circuits, components, and modules. To say it in simple terms, we are a semiconductor company. The company serves a wide range of industries, including aerospace, telecom, medical, and others. The company's innovative and technical products are used in very diverse markets, such as high-speed optical, satellite, radar, wireless networks, medical devices, and of course, mobile devices. MACOM was founded in 1950, and our corporate headquarters is here in Lowell, and we couldn't be more happy. We enjoy employing 373 people here, with a global presence spanning North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. And we have just over 1,200 worldwide employees, and we offer over 5,000 products. So what kinds of products are they? First, we thought this graphic would help you to understand a little better, because we do not actually have components that we bring to market. We design the components that go into the items that are brought to retail. So for instance, everybody with a cell phone, you would have some component represented and manufactured by MACOM. The middle picture there with the woman, she is taking inventory, perhaps at the local department store or grocery store. That handheld device has a component from MACOM. Also MRI, and you have the radar control signals at the airport. So those are just a few of our 5,000. I didn't want to list them all here for you tonight. And now, I would like to turn this over to Roy Drucker, the Director of Taxes for MACOM.
Thank you, Lisa. And good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, and members of the council. So what is our proposed expansion plans? Okay, first of all, I just want to summarize what do we have in Lowell. That you have two buildings. One building is a 173,000 square foot building on Chelmsford Street. And in there we have our manufacturing space and office space. Next to that, on 121 Hale Street, we have 60,000 square foot, which is mostly our research and development and the engineers. And this is a building which is adjacent to our current property. However, due to the global expansion of MACOM, a lot of it's through acquisitions, we just have a need for more space. So over the last couple of months, we've actually hired a real estate company to give us some different proposals on site plans. We're actively looking at different plan or locations in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, but one of the sites is actually right in our current complex. So there's land at 144 Chelmsford Street, which is adjacent to our building, and we've identified that land to build a new building that would meet our needs. And then the main goal is that not only does it meet our needs, but it also is a 3-building campus that we could have some green space, and it would really be, beautify the area. Okay, what is actually our proposed investment plan itself? Well, we're looking to construct a 50,000 square foot Class A office building as our corporate headquarter building. And this building will be attached to our current building, which is a gray building you'll see on Chelmsford Street, through a walkway, and it'll basically enhance the whole corporate environment. We also think this would be like, just improve the gateway to Lowell, just beautify that gateway, and we're looking to do that. We're looking to invest $15 million in the total project. About $14 million will be to the building for hard and soft costs, and about $1 million for personal property. Okay, what will this plan do to the jobs actually in Lowell? Well, as Lisa mentioned, we have 373 full-time jobs currently in Lowell, and we plan to retain those. On top of that, we plan to add 47 new full-time permanent jobs over the next 5 years. What type of jobs will these be? We will be adding engineering, product development jobs, information technology, sales, office and administrative jobs, and of course, we'll also hire temporary construction jobs to build the building. So for the unveiling of this new building, I'd like to hand the floor back over to Lisa.
It is with great pleasure and such an honor to be able to share publicly for the first time our design concept. And so this is it. Isn't she beautiful? And certainly, as Roy said, a Class A building. We are very excited about it, but some of the things that the picture does not reveal to you that I would like to share with you is, if you notice on the facade at the top, there's like a brick color there. And also inside, we have gone to great painstaking steps to envision a very industrial feel with fixtures that would represent and honor the history of Lowell. We really love being here, and we want people to know that, and we want it to fit in with the rest of the environment. You can see a walkway there just to the right of the point of the new building. That walkway is all glass. It is a cafeteria that will be open to the Chelmsford Street, and to the right of that, just over that gentleman's head onto the right lower part of the screen, that is where our existing building is. Within that, we're also hoping to have a fitness center. Now imagine, you can see people walking in the front, so there's going to be walkways, there's going to be green space, walking trails. This is really, really going to beautify, as Roy said, the gateway into Lowell, and we're really proud to be a part of that. Okay. So next, we hope that you're going to agree with us about this. I don't want to hear too many comments yet. Okay, so now that you've heard about our proposed plans, you've seen our conceptual design, we want to point out some of the positive economic impact that this is going to give to Lowell. The company and its employees, we estimate, spend about $1 million annually within the area businesses, such as grocery stores, the local shops, restaurants, hotels, not to mention the corporate industrial services that we also use. We also want to assure you that MACOM will continue investing in this community. Here is a listing of some of the things that we have been involved with and that we have supported. There are many, many more. Some of you may be surprised, some of you may not be, but we do these things not to toot our own horn. We do them because it's the right thing to do. And we have great leadership at MACOM. Our president and CEO, John Croto, encourages us to volunteer in the community. We will continue to do that and support this. But not only do we donate money to nonprofits and to good projects that are happening in the city, but we also sit on boards and committees. We serve our community here. We are the largest manufacturer here in Lowell, and we know and we accept our responsibility as such. How is this going to benefit Lowell? Well, for one, you get to keep the largest manufacturer here in Lowell, which we're very happy about. We also are going to create new jobs together here in the community. We're going to develop that underutilized parcel of property. Imagine all the people that will be coming through the gateway of Lowell from all over the world, our employees and customers that will be coming and will be able to be exposed to this gateway that has now been beautified. It's also going to generate new real estate tax revenue, permit fees, hotel tax revenue, and of course, meals tax revenue. We couldn't be happier to share these plans with you tonight. We want to thank you for your consideration. Again, Mr. Manager, we want to thank you for encouraging us to stay here in Lowell, because after all, everyone, I'm sure you'll agree, what's there not to love about Lowell? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. First of all, I really think this is exciting news. It's been a pleasure working with the representatives from MACOM. It would have been just as easy for you to move to southern New Hampshire, and you didn't. Your commitment to Lowell is terrific, and I've appreciated working with all of you. You're a great corporate entity here in the city of Lowell. We should all be proud of you. Also, from the city staff, these things don't happen overnight. And I have to congratulate Diane Trad, Allison Lammy, Maria Dickinson, and Sue LeMay for your tenacity and patience with me, going back and forth, negotiating this TIF. And I'd like to explain the TIF to the council and the people at home. I think it's important to note that MACOM is going to continue to pay their existing taxes. They're not getting any break on their existing tax bill. What we're saying is we're going to give them a tax increment financing agreement on the improvements they make to this vacant parcel of land. So they're still going to pay the taxes they're paying now. We're just going to give them incentive relative to the improvements, that $14 million in improvements that they're going to make. Now, we're asking you to make two votes tonight. There are actually two parcels of land involved in this transaction. Right now, the MACOM building sits on 100 Chelmsford Street. The proposed new building is slated to be built on 144 Chelmsford Street. Believe it or not, there's an existing TIF agreement dating back to 2008 with MACOM that encompasses both 144 and 100 Chelmsford Street. So the first vote we're going to ask you to take tonight is to take 144 Chelmsford Street out of that old TIF agreement and let it stand alone so that we can now enter into a new TIF agreement with them. The second vote we're going to ask is that you enter into this tax incentive financing agreement to keep MACOM here in Lowell and their 373 jobs, but also to add 47 jobs in the next 5 years. And now let me just point out that in this TIF agreement, pursuant to this council's instruction and vote, we have included language that those 47 new jobs should be given preference to Lowell residents in filling those positions. And second, there's an agreement. It's not in many municipalities, but we call it a clawback agreement, is if they don't create these new jobs in that period of time, we get back our money from MACOM. So it's not like they can just say we're going to create them and not create them. We're going to monitor them and make sure that they create those jobs, and that's the only way they're going to retain this tax increment financing throughout the entire 10-year period. So as you can see, what we're going to do is, in the first 5 years, is we're going to give a 65% tax increment financing incentive. As you can see, for the first 5 years, it's going to save MACOM approximately $120,000. But I think it's interesting to note, if you look in that last column, which is highlighted in yellow, the city of Lowell is going to realize additional tax revenue of close to $66,000 to $70,000 per year under this TIF agreement. So it's not like MACOM is just not paying any taxes at all. They are paying taxes. And over the life of this TIF, MACOM is going to save approximately $1 million in taxes, but we are going to generate new tax revenue of $980,000. So it is a good deal for the city of Lowell taxpayers, as it's still a tax-generating production. So I support this TIF wholeheartedly. I think it's going to make a great addition to the Chelmsford Street side of Lowell, a gateway to the city. It's going to attract new people to the city of Lowell. It's going to increase our tax base, and I just think it's a great endeavor for the city of Lowell. And this city council has had the wisdom and the courage in the past to grant TIFs to attract businesses to the city of Lowell, and I think that it's, again, a sign of your wisdom and courage to vote this TIF agreement this evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. There's no motion on the floor. Do we have a motion to approve by Councilor Samaras, second by Councilor Leahy? Discussion on the motion. Councilor Leahy, then Councilor Leary, then
Thank you.
Blanchard,
And
then Councilor Elliott.
through you to the manager, so along with the additional jobs, when they do the construction, we're gonna try to get as many Lowell businesses and Lowell jobs involved with the construction of the building too, because we've been pushing that, so that's kind of, that's understood that, okay.
Yes, through you, Mayor, yes. Pursuant to the council motion, we have to have language in it that it's going to, the jobs are going to be preferred for Lowell residents.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Leary.
No, I just want to, I agree. I think it was a great negotiation. I think it's smart. It's an existing business. I think a lot of folks always have the comments that we don't do it to an existing business. This is clearly a business that was created here, and as it said, back in the 50s. I think it's a $14 million investment in Chelmsford Street. The council just passed a motion regarding looking at Chelmsford Street. It's interesting, we just start from one end to the other. It's from the entrance, you have a new business coming of significant value, and now we have a homegrown business of value that's going to be putting in, $14 million worth of investment. It's also impressive that we're going to be adding another 50 jobs, basically, into a world corporate headquarters of an international business, which I think from a master plan in terms of Hamilton Canal and as we broaden our growth and what we're looking for, this is exactly what we want. So I'm definitely going to support it. I think the way you negotiated it and working with MACOM, I think is impressive. I think it's important. It does save them a significant sum of money, but it also makes us money too. So it's a positive thing for the business and a positive thing for the taxpayer, and I'm definitely going to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Blanchard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is great news once again. Mr. Manager, your administration is on a roll. This is outstanding. I want to congratulate your administration, planning and development, as well as MACOM on their expansion. A large part of economic development is retaining current businesses, and that's what's very, very important. And Mr. Manager, your administration achieved that. When a company like this, a very important manufacturer, expands, you stand to lose them. And your administration assured that that was not going to happen. So that is great news that we're going to retain MACOM and here in the city of Lowell. Now, a company like MACOM has been in the city for quite some time, and they are here at a really special time as well. Now, earlier in the evening, I thought, when I saw the MACOM team here, I was going to make a motion to take out of order the MACOM TIF as a courtesy, but I decided not to. I looked at the agenda, and the capital plan was right before them, so I wanted the MACOM officials to see that the city of Lowell is just as committed to improvements and growth as MACOM is, as we're going to be investing over $11 million in infrastructure improvements, public safety, so that the employees of MACOM, both current and future, are going to have public safety and amenities that hopefully their employees will be able to enjoy. And as I spoke to earlier, them being here at a special time with the Lord Overpass improvements, there's going to be connections between the MACOM, where they are, into the Hamilton Canal and into the downtown. It's going to be much more walkable. So hopefully these employees can take advantage of our amenities in our city and all these things we have to offer. So this is very exciting news. Not only do we retain jobs, we're gaining jobs. We're building the commercial tax base on what is now a vacant parcel, I might add. I mean, as much as I love green space, I love commercial development even more. So this is outstanding news, Mr. Manager. Congratulations to you and your staff. And to MACOM, thank you for investing in Lowell and having confidence in us. And we're going to continue to prove in the city as you're approving in what you're doing. So thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is one of the few financial incentives, financial tools that the state has granted municipalities to stimulate the economy, stimulate jobs. So I think we use it well. I think that using it at this particular point in time when the economy is still a little bit sluggish, but we continue to grow jobs in the city. They're good jobs. They're They're professional, they're well-paying, which is what we need. This is one of the number one issues we hear from so many folks throughout the city. And MACOM has been a good corporate neighbor. They support the community, and certainly they pay their fair share of taxes. And this is how we continue to attract businesses into the city. I think this is how we attracted Kronos away from other communities, that we use these tools, we use these financial incentives to attract business. It sends a good message that we are a business-friendly community, and that we are willing to implement a TIF to get something back. So I support this. I think it's just another investment that we make. The corporation invests in the community. And that's how we continue to get jobs. Kronos, we have one Markley, and if we don't, then they do go elsewhere. And I don't think that's what we want. That's not what the company wants. So it's to me, it's a win-win when we implement one of these TIFs and we grow our commercial tax base, as was mentioned. So I think there's a lot of positives to this, but most importantly, jobs, revenue for the city, and presenting a business-friendly atmosphere. So, Mr. Manager, good job. We look forward to this one and others as the economy gets better. But in the meantime, we're moving forward, and it's because of opportunities and deals like this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I think it's obvious to the people from Macon and the people watching television that as a city council, we're very pleased with what has happened tonight. For me, there are several things that I look at. One is that the city manager and his team has established a good working relationship with Macon. That's how business is done. And second, what's important is Macon has certainly shown that they have faith in the city of Lowell. And as we go on to sell this city to other companies to want to come into Lowell, this is the ingredient that we need, and this is what people have to say. So I support the TIF. I think again, the manager and his team have done what is right for the city, and I'm just pleased to be part of this. Thank you.
Councilor Mercy, then Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. This is a great partnership that has just taken place. I see the four ladies over there that are so excited about the hard work that went into this partnership. It's a great day for the city of Lowell when we see retaining jobs, keeping jobs here. The great part is it's a gateway to the city, and it's going to be improved. We're very lucky that you're able to not have to go around the city and see where you could put it, but it's right in your backyard. So how great was that? I'm just so thrilled about everything that has happened, and I want to thank you of the great job, and thank you for keeping my cell phone in working order. I am so pleased about that. Thank you very much.
Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to piggyback on Councilor Leahy's first question, I think it's section 123 of Article 1 of the TIF that states the owner will endeavor to hire its employees at the project site from residents of the Lowell Economic Target Area. Just the wording of that section, is that more of a requirement or more of a suggestion for the owner?
Mr. Manager.
We can't require anybody to hire them, but it is a suggestion, and they understand right from the beginning of the negotiations that that was almost as close to a requirement as one could get.
And realizing the $1 million savings that they're going to
Yes.
have to push Lowell residents?
Yes.
Thank you.
They also, as you also notice, is that, again, I have to credit UMass Lowell. One of the reasons that MACOM is expanding their business here in Lowell, not only is it the tax increment financing agreement that we're offering, but it's their proximity to UMass Lowell and the talented workforce. So that's a good thing for us also.
Thank you.
Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too want to congratulate the administration and MACOM for coming to these agreements this evening. And I think from the standpoint of economic development, obviously that retaining the 373 jobs, adding the new jobs, clearly is important to the city. But as important as MACOM deciding to stay here and expand here is that we can point to MACOM and to the Markley Group and to Kronos, as was mentioned, when we really move forward with the development of the Hamilton Canal. Because as we talked about retaining manufacturing jobs, retaining high-paying jobs, we can now, again, point to this particular project as really a cornerstone to keep us going forward in the Hamilton Canal. So again, I want to thank MACOM for their confidence and faith in the city, and I plan to support both votes this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing that I would add is that the first 65 years were great, and the second 65 years are getting off to a great start. So with that, would the clerk please call a roll?
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
We also have a vote to approve the TIF agreement with MACOM Solutions and CPI Chelmsford LLC. If there's no objection by general consent, we'll waive the full first reading. The second reading is approving the certified project application for MACOM Technology Solutions Incorporated and authorizing the tax increment financing agreement for CPI Chelmsford LLC. We have a motion to approve by Council Leary, second by Council Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next is a resolution from the city manager imposing cuts to the Mass Cultural Council in the FY17 state budget. We have a motion to support motion to support the resolution by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, under subcommittee reports, we have a report from the Personnel Subcommittee of May 10, 2016. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. The Personnel Subcommittee met this evening at 5:30 to take up a motion by Councilor Elliott, request the City Council discuss performance evaluation of City Manager and establish a time frame to conduct the process. Myself, along with Councilor Elliott and Councilor Belanger, as members of the Personnel Subcommittee. We also had in attendance Councilor Samaras, Councilor Leary, Councilor Mercier, Mayor Kennedy as well. And we began by talking a little bit about the overall, in our opinion, the overall performance of the city manager, but the mayor's office was good enough to conduct a survey of salaries for town managers and city managers throughout this part of the Commonwealth, just to get an idea of where the city manager's salary ranked amongst those town managers and city managers, which was helpful. It was helpful, and the mayor did suggest that that the council consider taking up a salary adjustment forthwith. However, as the discussion proceeded, I will tell you that all of the comments were very positive regarding the city manager's performance, but it was felt that we should go through an evaluation process. I did get a form that I gave to all of my colleagues this evening called City Manager Performance Evaluation. It's a 4-page evaluation form which really touches upon all the various aspects of the city manager's position. So after reviewing that document and hearing discussions, again, all positive from my colleagues, the subcommittee would like to recommend this evening to the full council that we move forward with the performance evaluation, that we individually fill out the form and submit it to the city clerk no later than May 20th. The city clerk will then tabulate the findings of the evaluation and present that back to the city council, at which time we will begin, I believe, deliberations of a salary adjustment. Again, not a COLA adjustment, but in my opinion, a merit adjustment for the city manager. Again, based upon the evaluation and also based upon the salary survey that Mayor Kennedy's office was kind enough to provide to the council. So again, it's an evaluation that's getting underway really today, And I would ask my colleagues to support the recommendation of the subcommittee, so I would bring that in the form of a motion, that we all complete the city manager performance evaluation and return the form to the city clerk no later than Friday, May 20th. So I would put that as a report of progress from the subcommittee, but I'd put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercia. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed? So voted.
Thank you.
Next is from the Wire Inspector, National Grid, a request for the removal and installation of a new pole located at 182 Andover Street. Chair would look for a motion to adopt and accept the accompanying report. We have a motion by Councilor Roque to that effect, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next on the petitions, we have a petition from Soteros Grievous requesting the City Council abandon Riverside Avenue. Chair would entertain a motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation. We have a motion by Councilor Roque to refer to the Law Department, second by Councilor Samaras. Discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is under miscellaneous. We have Network Building and Consulting. A request permission to construct, maintain, and operate a telecommunications tower at 965 Bridge Street, which is Gage Field. Do we have a motion to refer to the Law Department for a report and recommendation by Councilor Belanger, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a few questions on this petition. So here we have, from what I understand, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, a telecommunication facility going to go on the top of a lighting pole at Gage Field, Mr. Manager? Is that accurate?
Through you, Mayor, this is the first time that I've heard about this proposal. Nobody has talked to us about putting this at Gage Field. Nobody's talked to us about the lease arrangements. So we have a lot of investigation to do also before I could even make a recommendation of this sort to you. Yep. So, like I say, I've never heard about this until I saw it on the council agenda. Yep. So. Okay.
Because thank you, and I have a few questions myself. If there's going to be a sometimes there's a power pack underneath. I have a few questions myself here. I don't believe that's appropriate for this park. Is really, we were just there a couple Saturdays for an event, and this park is beautiful. We had a neighborhood organization that raised a lot of money for improvements, and this park is looking really, really good. So, I mean, aesthetically, on the top of a light tower, it sort of blends in, but usually underneath is some sort of power pack to obviously power the telecommunication tower. So I got a few questions there. That's going to be fenced in underneath. So, and does this need to go through a land use board at the same time? So I look forward to your report and recommendation. I do have a few issues that I have concerns with at this park. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. I think we have a speaker. Yes. Go ahead.
My name is Alan Hinckley, and I am a site acquisition consultant for Network Building and Consulting. We represent EcoSite, who is a tower constructor. They build towers. What the proposal is here, and again, this is very preliminary, and I realize that, we basically just wanted to bring it to the council's attention and determine if there's interest in us going forward with at least considering the idea. What we would propose, and I believe in the packages that I sent to the city clerk, we would propose a light pole replacement, which would essentially be a tower that's slightly taller than the other light poles there that would accommodate probably one or possibly up to 3 additional carriers. Can be designed again to blend as well as possible with the park. To the councilman's concerns about equipment at the base of the tower, we would typically look for a space of about 50 by 50 feet, but again, judging because of the nature of the park, we can work with less space and certainly can design it so that the equipment is hidden either behind fencing, or it would be in fencing, or behind some kind of barrier to make it more aesthetically pleasing as well. So there are a lot of options there. Again, I realize this is very preliminary. We're just looking basically to inform you that we're interested. And I'm here to answer any questions if anybody has anything.
Okay, Councilor Roque.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I heard you say 50 by 50 feet. Have you been to Gage Field?
I know it's tight, and as I say, I realize that probably wouldn't work there. That's what I said. We can work around kind of what's the existing infrastructure there. It doesn't necessarily need to be a square compound. There does need to be space, obviously, for the carriers to have their equipment, but it can be much more limited than what a typical cell site would look like.
So what's the smallest site you have that you've done?
That, I can't really answer you definitely what we could do small. I think what we'd have to do is again, to be honest, we haven't even really done a design visit out there to determine exactly what space we need. We really wanted to kind of get permission to at least look at the thing with the count before we come back to the council with any kind of plans and drawings. But I've worked with these in the past, and the pictures that I sent to you are from one over in Albany County in New York. It was done very similar in a park with a ball field, and there are ways to make it work and keep it aesthetically pleasing, so.
Okay, and I know you've been there, so you've seen that the ball fields, there's
Yeah.
soccer fields, there's
Yeah, I know, I realize,
basketball
yeah.
courts.
And it's at the high school, or at the middle school, I believe,
Right.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I'll say Council Samaras, then Council Belanger, and then Council Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. You know, my concern is, you talked about, okay, you can build a tower, you can possibly make the plan smaller to fit the field, but I'm concerned about safety. You've also talked about the tower that you may have 2 or 3 other telecommunication devices put onto that tower. There's so much discussion about safety regarding these towers in their proximity to homes, and this will be where children play, so I'm concerned about that. So I'd like to see a report from you also on what you deem, what you look at, how you're going to look at the future, what the tower can look like, and whatever safety information you have regarding this.
we can provide, again, I should note that all of the carriers that would use this tower are licensed by the FCC, which means their frequencies and their power use match what's required by the FCC to be at standard safety levels for the country. So with that being said, we can also provide you with some health and safety reports that would show you that's being met.
You know, the issue is there's no real conclusive proof that even what they say is safe is really safe. So, I mean, we're going to make a judgment here, but we need as much information as we possibly can get.
I understand, yeah. And again, I have to apologize. I'm not an RF engineer, so I can't really speak intelligently to exactly the RF issues as far as what's health and safety, but we can certainly provide that at the time.
Council Rowe?
I know the presentation is very early, but Mr. Clerk, what's the next step in this?
Usually it gets referred to the law department. They run it through the building for different inputs from different departments in the city, and then they come back with a report and recommendation.
That's only upon our approval, correct?
It's got to, everything's got to be approved, whether it's going to be a license for these people, whether it's going to be an easement, or whatever the city solicitor comes up with that is needed for your approval. It's got to be back down here, and more than likely, maybe a public hearing form or some other matter.
It may also raise issues of procurement, bidding, opening, if this were to be done, the need to potentially open it up to other competitors as well.
I guess my question is, could we squash this tonight?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I mean, I'll make a motion to vote on this now. I mean, I know it's very early, but just looking at some of the specifics of it, the pictures we have, I mean, we were all just at the park just last week. I couldn't imagine what could go there that would make it safe or aesthetically pleasing for any type of reason, so I would make a motion
I
to vote.
would second that.
You make a substitute motion to deny.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Council Leahy. Okay. Council Belanger.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will support the motion. I just, I was concerned about the process from here as well. I mean, we're not going to undermine the Friends of Gage Field. They were just, we're talking about some parents here who raised about $40,000 for improvements in this park. So they are not going to be held out of this process. So, I mean, I just don't see, we're being offered roughly $1,000 a month to take up, encroach on our parks, space approximately 50 by 50. That's no deal to me. So I have serious concerns and issues with this. That's why I brought the issue up. So I do support Councilor Rourke's motion. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion on the substitute motion? Councilor Elliott?
Yeah, excuse me, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm going to support the motion too. It's, city doesn't have a lot of parks, and we invest a lot of money in our parks. And I can't imagine, I spent an awful lot of time up there as well, and I agree with Councilor Rourke. There is, I don't know how you could take a 50 by 50 swath of land up there, or 25 by 25, or whatever the case may be, for this purpose. So I appreciate the fact that you're looking to put a tower there. The city would get, what is it, the proposal, $10,000 a year, 12,
For 30 years.
For
They
30
want a
years.
30-year lease,
Yeah.
12,000 with no escalation whatsoever.
There really is no price that we can put on the value of our parkland, and that is a beautiful park. We have limited, it's used by thousands of kids. It's not as if it's one of these parks that's not used a lot, so I support the motion not to proceed with this. Thank you.
I just want to say quickly that, we appreciate you came down, but this just isn't for Lowell, and I'm glad you made the motion, and even what Council Samara said, you're just not sure. So you put that in a park with all those kids, who knows?
I certainly understand your concerns, and as I said, it's your city. You folks are the ones that have to make the decisions here, so I do understand. Again, we're representing a carrier who's looking to improve their coverage in that area, and we will probably look at other options for that area, but this was one obvious option that we wanted to consider. And before we put a lot of time and effort into it, we wanted to come before the council and at least get some opinions.
Any further discussion on the substitute motion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. I just had a question. What is the annual or monthly, let's go with annual revenue or rent that a tower, someone that owns a cell tower from, say, just one carrier? Average. I know it can range, but.
It does range, and in this particular situation, what the carriers do is when they're looking for a coverage area where they have problems, in this case, the carrier is T-Mobile. They have some coverage issues in that area, so they make a kind of a national deal with a company to go out and find them sites, the
Right.
tower company, which is where EcoSite comes in, and then they would become the tenant. Those deals are negotiated on multi-site deals, so I can't really give you a specific number, other than it's generally accepted that you probably need to make it justified for the tower company, they would need at least 2 carriers on there to break even based on their costs and development costs and all that thing.
Right.
So, and they do make deals with the carriers to develop a site with the idea that they eventually have room to put another carrier on there, which is where their level of profitability.
So you don't have any idea? I mean, you have an idea of how much you want to pay for rent?
Well, again, we're
So-
locked into parameters as far as what we can offer and rent. Again, there is, as you can imagine, there's extensive costs that are involved in building these things besides just the rent we pay. So that's the other side of it. I'm not aware of what the cost is in this particular deal. I can tell you in a range.
Generally, most estimates are between 100 and 200,000 per carrier per year, right?
I don't believe that it's that high. Not to my knowledge that I know of any that are that high.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call on the substitute motion to deny.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we'll move on to city council motions.
Thank
First
you.
motion of
Thank
the
you for your
evening-
time.
Thank you. The first motion of the evening is a motion by Council Leary and Council Leahy to request that the city manager send a letter on behalf of the city council to Lowell High School headmaster and the school community congratulating them on successfully receiving accreditation. Council Leary?
Just want to point this out. It is a feel-good motion, but it's also very important. This is a significant positive thing for the city. The Lowell High School is a fantastic institution of learning. This accreditation comes from a long-term plan from the staff at the high school and an investment from the city, investment from the Lowell Public Schools. Achieving accreditation is a celebration for the entire community, and I like to have that acknowledged, at least we have on behalf of the Lowell City Council, and acknowledging that not only publicly here, but also congratulating the staff at the high school for a job well done. Their accreditation, the only comments that were made in of improvement were actually to the facility. all the academics in that high school were achieved are exactly the way a high school should be in the state of Massachusetts. So that's something that's extraordinary. That's something that should be celebrated. The fact that the only issue was the building, and that is something we're actually working on, is an achievement. So I think congratulations are in order, and I'd like to have that extended on behalf of the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Leahy to request that the zoning subcommittee meet to discuss the application of the zoning bylaws and zoning plans throughout the city. Second by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. The motion was put on, basically, there's a lot of questions out there. Some of the neighborhood leaders approached us, asked us if we could meet, and I myself have some questions. So it would be a good opportunity for us to all sit down, have neighborhood leaders there, anybody from the public that wants to come in and just find out what's going on with the zoning laws that pertain to your neighborhood and in the city in general. So that's the gist of the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Samaras. Request that the city manager budget an amount of $2,000 for Sustainability Commission funding for the upcoming fiscal year. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Mr. Manager, as you know, the Sustainability Committee, which was the former Green Commission, has asked that their budget be continued of $2,000. I would like to see that happen because it's part of the educational process. But perhaps before that, you could arrange that the chairperson of the Sustainability Commission meet with the Department of Planning and Development to talk about what they can provide in free services. I think it's obvious that sometimes they might be paying for things that can be printed within the city boundaries. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. It's my intention to speak on the next motion, so I'd ask that the Vice Chairman take the chair for the next two motions.
Next motion of the night, motion 8.4, by Councilor Samaras and Councilor Belanger, require the city manager to prepare a report/request to the MDOT to prioritize the need for the Rourke Bridge replacement. No need for a second. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. Last week, the Secretary of the Department of Transportation spoke to what the state has planned for this area. And when she did speak, she talked about the replacement of the Rourke temporary bridge that basically was not on the horizon. I believe that there's a need to provide the state with information and to hopefully change their approach to this and make it a priority. So what I'm asking for is that the manager create a commission or a group to come together. I look at, people from Lowell General Hospital, Trinity Ambulance, Fire Department, Police Department, University, the leadership of the neighborhood groups of Pawtuckaville and the Highlands to provide information as to why the Rourke Bridge should become a priority. The issue that I have is if you live in the Highlands and at 5 o'clock you require an ambulance to take you to Lowell General, it's not a great time to have that occur. Because, in fact, I'd like to see with this commission, they actually look at what type of time it would take to go from certain areas of the Highland to Lowell General Hospital by ambulance or a fire truck to go from one side to the other. It's all about safety. If the Olympics were to be part of the Massachusetts future, there was talk of building or replacing the bridge. But because the Olympics is not part of our future, there is now no longer any talk about replacing the Rourke Bridge. And I believe it's far more important to talk about the safety of the individuals or the families in the Highlands and in Pawtuckaville. So I'd like to have the manager bring these people together to create a fact sheet that we can present to the state regarding this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Yes, that was not exactly encouraging news from the Transportation Secretary that the Rourke Bridge is really on the back burner, to say the least, unfortunately. And we need the city of Lowell, and not just, the point I'd like to make too, not just the city of Lowell, this problem should not be just solely on the back of Representative Golden, Ratty Mom, or State Senator Donahue. This bridge is utilized not only for Pawtuckaville residents, Drake, Tingsboro, southern New Hampshire. So we should be having a collaboration that has our backs on this issue too. It should not be on the backs of our delegation alone. Okay, there are strength in numbers. These neighboring towns use this as well. We've all held campaign signs there and go by there some morning and see all the New Hampshire plates that come by there too. Okay, so this is used. So we do have a case to build here. Okay. Number one, it's over 30 years old, a temporary bridge as it's been dubbed, as we all know. You know, the population has grown, okay, especially in the suburbs, Drake, Tingsboro, in some cases doubled. So that is an argument for us. Public safety, as Councilor Samaras has alluded to. Representatives from Trinity Ambulance spoke and said, we have somebody in cardiac arrest in the back of an ambulance and we can't get by. There's 2 lanes, that is it. No, even if you each pulled it aside, we still can't get a box truck through. It is a public safety matter there that exists. So we need to build an argument and a collaboration at the State House on this to prioritize this for the city of Lowell and put us higher where we are now. Right now, it's not looking, I think we're pegged for 2030. So we need better than that. So we need help from our neighbors as well, the neighboring towns. And Mr. Manager, we need to, I mean, it's a rather large task, but our residents deserve this. It's a problem every day, day in and day out, as many councilors live, come here that way. So we need to, again, build a case to get us higher on that priority list. So thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Belanger. Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, Lowell's been looking for a permanent bridge as Councilor Belanger alluded to, for a long, long time, for more than 30 years. And we have that temporary structure there. The only way that we're going to get a project like that completed is if we just push and stay ever vigilant. Otherwise, it just isn't going to happen. It's going to stay on the back burner. Now, many of us were at meetings that were held up at Lowell General Hospital a couple of years ago in preparation for and during the feasibility study that was done on the bridge. That study is almost 2 years old now. And the next step is an environmental study. And so, but there is no funding for the environmental study, and where the feasibility study cost $500,000, the estimations for the environmental study are about $1 million, and it's going to take some time, but it is the second step, and it has to be done. Last week, I sent out an email to all the members of the City Council informing them that on Wednesday in Andover, the Department of Transportation would be having a hearing on their capital plan. I see that as being an opportunity for the city to request that that $1 million be put into that capital plan for that environmental study. I don't know if we'll be successful, but I do think that we ought to try. I've been in contact with Beverly Woods from the Council of Governments. I think they're going to be down there. I've had a discussion with the city manager about this. I think we're going to have people from the city down there. I had an opportunity to have a phone conversation with the Lieutenant Governor, and I pointed out to her that I thought that this was an important project for the city earlier this week. And so I do think that we ought to try to have that $1 million included. That is the next step. If we can get that included in the capital plan, then I think that's a little victory and brings us one step closer and helps us to come off the back burner a little bit. But even after that study's done, we're still going to have to push for the next step, for all the way to construction of the bridge. And the only way that it's ever going to get done is if we just continue to push and push and push. So if we're not successful in having it put into the capital plan, added to the capital plan tomorrow evening, then my suggestion would be that we get in touch with the delegation, take Councilor Samaras' suggestion, put a commission together, and just push for that study. There's going to be a point, if we don't do that environmental study, there will come a point at which the feasibility study that we spent, or that the state spent $500,000 on, will become dated. And there'll be somebody that's going to insist that we do another feasibility study. So instead of making any progress, we'll be taking a step back. I think that this is very important, and I think that Council Belanger is correct in that this isn't just important for better traffic flow in the city, and it isn't just public safety. This is something that has an impact on some level for the entire region. We only have so many bridges over the Merrimack. What we have up there now is a 2-lane bridge that basically everybody kind of makes fun of. I would point out that probably 30 years ago, we had an opportunity to have a 4-lane bridge across the Merrimack with access roads on the northern side going from the bridge to Mammoth Road, 4 lanes at grade. And on the southern side, from the bridge to the Drum Hill area, 4 lanes at grade. Because of the development that's taken place since that time, those options aren't available to us. It's only the bridge. But I think we really have to push. I think that the meeting tomorrow night is an important step. I think it's important that we be there and that we be as loud as we can be about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Mazzo?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I agree with everything that my colleagues have said, but I would like to add one comment because we are looking at 2030. And I remember when we put the temporary bridge up and how we did meet with the state delegation. We were able to get the temporary bridge built with a promise that the environmental study would go forward and so forth. But has anyone given any thought at all to asking for, and again, this is going to sound crazy, but asking for a temporary 3rd lane? You put a temporary 3rd lane on the right side of that bridge while all the environmental work is going on. I mean, engineering has changed so much in the last 3 decades that I would think that the Army Corps of Engineers could build a 3rd lane without going through all the environmental steps right now. Again, hoping not to delay anything, because my point would be to make sure that we, as the mayor indicated, we keep pushing. But if the large retail development that I've heard about may take place on the Pawtuckaville side of that bridge, maybe we could even get some private investment to help with this temporary 3rd lane. And you'd have 2 lanes out in the morning and 2 lanes in the afternoon, with 2 lanes out, 1 lane in, and vice versa in the afternoon. So again, it's probably a crazy thought, but I would not rule it out at this particular point in time to do a temporary 3rd lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Leary?
That thought is actually a good idea. It's actually a smart idea, because waiting even for 2030, if that's the nearest hit, might be the short-term solution. I agree with everything that's been said here. I think Councilor Belanger hit it on the head, though. It's not just Lowell. I mean, you got bridges. The next bridge is Tingsboro. That's almost like 3 miles away, and it's 3 miles on the Chelmsford side and the Tingsboro side, so you had 2 different communities in it. I guess the question through you to the manager, what type of short-term notice can we bring people there tomorrow night, to at least from the administration, to kind of push our concerns forward? I mean, I don't know if you've talked to them, spoken to the mayor, but what is your actual short-term plan?
Mr. Manager?
I've already talked to Diane Trad at Planning and Development, and she's going to be there with other representatives of Planning and Development to address the meeting and ask for the $1 million for the environmental study relative to the Rourke Bridge, and impress upon them how important it is for the city to have that move forward.
No, good. I think that's an excellent first step. I think the mayor stated it, that you already have invested $500,000 into a study that's 2 years old. It's going to become obsolete. So I think at this point, just from being a taxpayer, at any point in the state of Massachusetts, you'd want to have this going forward, because it could be wasted money. I think the ideas that Councilor Milanauza pointed out are creative. It's something that definitely should be looked into, regardless of what the situation is. If the funding does come in a time frame where the 2030 2030 is reality, or 2033, or whatever year comes in, that actually makes a lot of sense to achieve the short-term solution. But I think that the council has said, and I think the motion is an excellent motion by Councilor Samaras and Councilor Belanger, the louder the voice we can, and the more intelligent the voice that we can present, the more likely we are to have success. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments? Councilor Elliott and Councilor Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So this issue has been on the floor of the council for probably the better part of 20 years, and we continue to hit that wall, and that it's not a priority, and that the can just continues to get kicked down the road. I sit on that bridge every day, and I think we need to take somewhat of a slightly, if not complementary, approach. And I think the city engineer needs to be involved, because on an annual basis, that bridge is inspected. And I think we need to make the argument in this respect. The state spends upwards of about $1 million almost every year just to make improvements on that bridge. And I think structurally it is, they may say it's safe, but at any given point in time, given the age and the fact that in excess of 30,000 vehicles traverse that bridge every single day, it's old, it's dated, and they can continue to put a Band-Aid on this, which is what they do, including the plates on top. But I think it's a significant safety hazard. Clearly, it affects public safety with fire, police, and ambulances, but I think structurally, at any given point in time, and I'm not trying to alarm the residents by any stretch, but sit on that bridge, and you'll see that you don't feel safe. And I think that can be the most compelling argument, that it's 30 years, you put $1 million into it every year, and what are we going to do? Wait until something significant happens, and then the city loses. First of all, it's a safety issue, but we lose a bridge, and we have seen it when we have to make repairs to other bridges. This city comes to a standstill. So I think, in addition to the suggestion made, and I think it's a regional issue, and I think that's where the strength is. Capital budget has not come out yet for the state. It's well into the planning phases. Obviously, this is the looking for input. And I do think we need to engage our delegation. I think we have a strong delegation. I believe that they can use their, use their tenure at the State House to work with the Speaker, and the Senator can make this a coalition. That's what it's going to take. Even though it's not an huge regional issue, but to some degree it is. The cars that are coming down from, including New Hampshire, they're going to Route 3. And I know the obstacle, and we've heard it from Mass DOT in the past, is we're not going to put in a 4-lane bridge until we get 4 lanes that go to Route 3. There's some huge eminent domain costs associated with that, but I think we have to get that funding in for an environmental study, and then the progress of the project takes place. So I think that's the compelling argument. I guess I'd ask to the mayor. Miss Mayor, you going tomorrow night, or someone representing the city, an elected official?
I think people from as the city manager said, Diane Trad's going, I think other people are going. I'm going. I have a budget hearing at 7:15 for the school committee, but this meeting starts at 6 o'clock in Andover, so I expect to be there till probably 6:40 anyways.
Okay. Is there an opportunity for the public to speak? Is it just a kind of a free-for-all?
I think my understanding is it's a public hearing, so that's what it is an opportunity for the public to speak and give input. I do think that for people that aren't able to make the meeting, that there's a way that you can just submit information, and so and if you would like, we can find out how to do that and get that to you if that would be helpful, because I think everybody should weigh in on this. I think it's really an important issue for the city.
I agree. I'm thinking officials from Chelmsford as well, who are clearly in Westford, that will be impacted by this, Tingsboro. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I just wanted to add the same thing, that I think everybody made great comments tonight, and we really do need to reach out to all the surrounding areas, Westford, Chelmsford, Tingsboro, have them weigh in with us, It's very important to the city. The mayor's office has been working very hard on this, the phone calls back and forth. So anything and anybody we can bring down tomorrow night to make as much noise for this bridge is a great opportunity for us to go, so, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Manager, if you can get us an email address early tomorrow morning for maybe the council, either individually or as a whole, can send our thoughts and suggestions on this matter. Thank you. And then also, Councilman Oz, would you like to add to the motion maybe the DOT report on a possible third lane? Right. Is there a second? Mayor Kennedy. All those in favor? Opposed? Right. Next one is fine.
Okay, the next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Rourke. It's not on the agenda as a motion by Council Rourke, but it absolutely is. Requesting that the City Council name the playground in Father McGuire Park in honor of Henry Mickey Cochran Jr. Do we have a second? Seconded by Council Mercia. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brought to my attention a little while ago that there's a section of Father McGuire, the playground area, which the city does have funds to actually redo the park with some new equipment. Over near Father McGuire, it's, there's basketball courts, tennis courts, a softball field, and there's one playground, a small one towards the end, and there's room for a much bigger one towards the ball field. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, I offer a motion tonight to name that for Henry Mickey Cochran Jr. He was born in Pawtuckaville in 1931. He's one of 9 children, raised in Pawtuckaville, first on Clinton Ave and on Mammoth Road. He attended Pawtuckaville Elementary School and Lowell High School. Mr. Cochran served in the U.S. Air Force during the Korean conflict, returning home to Lowell after his honorable discharge. I began working in Lowell with Local 132 as a plumber. In the mid-50s, together with his brothers and friends from the neighborhood, Mickey helped organize a baseball league for neighborhood kids, which later became to be known as the Pawtuckaville Youth Organization. He coached and managed his team, the Yankees, for a number of years, serving as a role model to many of Pawtuckaville's youth. At the time when he started the league, he was in his early 20s. He viewed coaching as his way to give back to the community and to provide guidance to kids in the neighborhood. In 1959, he married his wife, Rita, who was born and raised in Pawtuckaville as well. Later in his career, Mickey worked as a clerk of the works for the city of Lowell until illness forced his retirement. He raised 5 children, Mr. Mayor. He was known to many here on the council and the city as a good friend, neighbor, coach, and family man. He was known for his sense of humor and his outgoing personality. And our own city manager used to caddy for Mr. Cochran back in his younger days as well. So he's survived by his 5 children, 3 of whom all live in the same block as the Cochrans did, as well as 8 grandchildren. Commissioner Belgar from the Parks Department is here to explain a little about the process. And the hope, Mr. Mayor, would be that Council Bercia can bring this to the Board of Parks as soon as possible, get this approved, and have a dedication in honor of Mickey Cochran Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Rourke requesting that the city manager bring Superintendent Taylor and Chief Randy Brashears from the University of Massachusetts and Lowell Police Department before the council to speak on the partnership between the city and the university. Second by Council Leahy. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to speak for itself. I actually been talking to Council Leahy, who's the chairman of Public Safety. He's working on getting these two together. This actually stems from a neighborhood subcommittee meeting we had with Pawtuckaville a week ago, which they spoke together for a short period of time. But it was very interesting to the councils that were there and also to the community residents of the partnership that's been actually ongoing for a while now, that's led to some positive results. So if we can get them maybe referred to the Public Safety Subcommittee and for a report. Thank you.
Can I just, sure.
Yes.
Can I just add too? I was speaking with Chancellor Maloney, and she had asked for this too. So along with the neighborhood groups, this would be a great partnership to bring together. So we're trying to work on a date and get information gathered, so we'll be having that meeting soon, or subcommittee soon.
Okay, so the motion reads to bring them before the council, but the intent would be to bring them before the subcommittee?
We can bring it for the subcommittee first, then they can report back to the council. Thank
Okay,
you.
so if there's no objection, the motion will be amended to reflect the subcommittee? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Elliott to request the city manager of the police superintendent look into training available for police officers to be able to identify counterfeit driver's licenses. Do we have a second? Second by Councilor Belanger. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. So I shouldn't say training available because there is training available. This is becoming a fast problem, Mr. Manager, as you might be aware. These counterfeit licenses are imposters, if you will. And the significance, I believe, in a few, when we learn more about it, these individuals that are stealing identities, more often than not, are drug dealers. They're drug traffickers and are contributing significantly to the heroin problem and the heroin epidemic, not only in Massachusetts, but in the Commonwealth. And police officers around the Commonwealth, they're now being trained to be made aware of these licenses and the process and sort of the signs that that they can use to identify and the strategy behind it. So it's a disturbing trend that these individuals, sometimes they're convicted criminals that are tied to the heroin trade. They're in the country illegally, they're using black market names, and they're going to registry under someone else's name. Now, I know that Massachusetts has filed, again, an extension to implement the Real ID system that has to be in place within the next couple of years. But in the meantime, there is a police officer, his name is James Scott, and he's conducting training. He essentially devised his own system to help spot these imposters. So he's training police officers from Falmouth to to Boston and throughout the Commonwealth. And the concern is when I learned of this, there could be up to 10,000, in excess of 10,000 of these imposters throughout the Commonwealth. So I think it's well worth us looking into, and whether he can come here or we can identify some training. I do think it's important as our police officers are making routine traffic stops, and we can identify, and we've made great progress in treatment for opioid addiction, but this is one of the chief problems is certainly drugs, but it's in large part these individuals that are stealing, they're stealing identity, they're getting fake IDs, and they're coming and going, as they wish. So I think it's an opportunity to, to catch these traffickers, these drug dealers, and but we're going to get the training to the officers. So that's the essence of the motion, Mr. Manager. And I'm sure the chief is aware of this, but I just thought it was important to bring it forward to the council and to the public, knowing that that this is taking place.
Any further discussion on the motion, Mr. Manager?
It's interesting. We just had a hearing before the License Commission where even though the bar had bought one of those scanners that is supposed to, you just scan the license and it's supposed to determine whether it was a fake or not, they've advanced so far that it fooled the machine. So they are so advanced that you need more training just beyond just the machines, but just the human being to be able to tell the difference. So it's a timely motion.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? All
Just a response. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So that's interesting to know, Mr. Manager. I know the governor has filed the bill. The prior governor has filed the bill to implement this Real ID. It's federally mandated, and it was adopted in 2005. So I do think they are getting smarter in these IDs, and the registry are making improvements on a small scale, but it does cost money, and so there is some progress, albeit slowly, to make to make the process more seamless and to get the IDs that are that they can't be tampered with. So appreciate that information, Mr. Manager. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Elliott, requesting the city manager report on the amount of revenue received from payment in lieu of taxes programs in the city. Seconded by Councilor Mercy. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. The motion essentially speaks for itself, Mr. Manager. I know that we have, what I would like to do, if I can amend my own motion, or just to include, it does say revenue or taxes. I'd like to know what the increase in property valuation has been, knowing that, you know, the university clearly has taken property that is not, and this isn't specifically directed at the university, but just to see if we are, you know, what percentage of our real estate property valuation, where we are at, and whether there's an upwards or downward trend. And really not looking at the small organizations, but the larger nonprofits. What are they contributing, knowing that there has been growth, and the motion speaks for itself. I'll just probably have more to say. I will have more to say when I get that information. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Councilor Leary.
Just quickly, I think it's a great motion. I'd like to see, some of the larger organizations, exactly what are they contributing? Because a lot of this, not to pick on anybody in particular, but it'd be good to see the trend over time, too, to see how this all works out. I like as soon as it comes in, I think there'll be a lot more talk about it in terms of what that means. And if we could even, what about comparable communities? What exactly is happening in other areas? So if you have, for example, a hospital, what does a hospital pay in a particular town or another city in the Commonwealth or a similar sized city in the area? Thank you.
Thanks. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The last motion of the evening is a motion by myself. I'd like to withdraw the motion. I think the motion that was passed earlier by Council Leahy was essentially the same thing. Isn't it, Council Leahy?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
If there's no objection, under announcements, city manager would like to make an announcement, and then I have one announcement to make myself.
So I have that email address that I'll just read out now, so if people at home want to make comments, but also if the city council, and we'll email it to all the city councilors tomorrow, but it's masscip@state.ma.us. And we'll email that to the city councilors tomorrow. So one more time, it's masscip@state.ma.us, and that's for comments relative to the Rourke Bridge.
And what is your email address?
K. Murphy at...
Mercy here at...
The chair would like to announce the 6th Annual Media and Community Gala entitled Bridging Cultures, a celebration of Asian diversity, which will be held at 450 Chancellor Street in Lowell on Friday, May 20th from 6 to 10 p.m. Any other announcements? Councilor Elliott.
Not an announcement, but I just would like to ask for suspension of the rules to bring in talk about a specific item, and that is just a recent email that we received regarding that party on the corner of Pine Street, and so that's the purpose of suspending the rules.
Okay, Councilor Elliott is asking that we, by general consent, suspend the rules in order to talk about late-night parties. If there's no objection, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It came in, I would have filed the motion, but I think it's timely to some degree, knowing that the nice weather is coming, Mr. Manager, and you did respond to the chief, and, it's, I think it's becoming, it's not the norm, but it's becoming more and more of a problem, and there's Saturday nights when there's a lot going on in the city, and they're late night. This is not the first one, it's not the second one, but it's not only the noise, well, it is a noise, and it's the disturbance to the neighbors, and it's becoming more of a problem. So I just wanted to raise it to the people at home to know that we are aware of it and that we are doing something about it. And it seems that the police they empty the homes, or they break up the parties, and they're perhaps called to someone else. So they can't hang around for the time that the party has to disperse. They're called to somewhere else. But I think that we need to, people will know. If we have to issue citations or we have to take matters to a little bit more of a, stronger, stronger measures, then I believe that we need to do that. And I hope the chief of police understand that. And we have to put more officers on Saturday nights in the nicer weather, then we need to do it, because these parties, we get a lot of we get a fair amount of complaints. I don't want to overdo it, but I think it's a trend, and we need to put our thumb right down on it very soon to say, you know what, you can have parties, but not 50, 60, 70, 100 people, either after the bars close or, after some event. So I don't want to belabor the issue, but I thought it was important to bring it up. It wasn't on the agenda. I know you're aware of it, Mr. Manager. So other than just sending a couple officers over there and say, hey, you got to break the party up, they come back 10 or 15 minutes later, and we're chasing our tail. So that's the purpose of spending it. So thank you.
Just quickly, just building off, and I know you and I had a conversation about it, and I know you emailed the counselors regarding the statements, and the chief's looking into it, and I appreciate that. And we conveyed that to the individuals that made those complaints, and I appreciate the fact that you're following up with it. And I think, kind of looking at, this is just not one incident here, this is multiple. So I trust that you'll be able to manage that effectively. And thank you for the timely initial response.
Thank you. Just quickly, too. I like during the emails also that, through you, the manager, that you and the police chief also like what you're doing with the problem properties is one strike, and then the police would go in there during the day and dealing with these party houses and telling them, we're not coming back anymore, So I thought that was a good approach. I wanted to mention that.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through you, I met with Deputy Chief Webb this afternoon, and to tell him that we're going to nip this in the bud as the good weather comes, and he's in charge of the police force as far as deploying them. So he's going to work diligently on that. But also the comments that were made by the dispatchers were not correct or right either, and they're going to be talked to also about how to really handle, because people calling at 1 o'clock in the morning are upset, and you just don't say they can't be everywhere, and that will be addressed also.
Yeah, I just want to follow up, Mr. Mayor, and I agree. And, I just put myself in that situation. If there was a party next door, and there was, quite frankly, last year, the police came, they broke it up, they came back a little bit. I agree, and, it's so easy, they just get on their phone and say the police are gone, and they come back. But what happens is it escalates. And then later in the morning, and this particular individual last year ended up in this location ended up in gunshots. So I think it's, first of all, we shouldn't have these late night parties that are affecting the neighbors, and the later it gets, the more cause for problems come. So it's, and I agree. You know what? Usually a problem property that needs follow-up, and that's what, when you hit them in the pocketbook, then that's when you get results. Thank you.